everybody. Welcome to ZZ Talk with Zeus
and Zino.
And this is the podcast of two normal guys who talk about everything and anything. We'll talk about everything, and especially since there's a lot of stuff going on right now, we can definitely talk about everything. But mostly, we talk about pop culture, we talk about sports, and we talk with a very heavy dose of politics. Today will be a very heavy dose of politics. We're recording today, October 3rd, Saturday of 2020. Few things have came to light in the last few days, so we're going to be discussing those. First, we're going to kick it off with our top five. Our top five is going to be different than our normal top five. Our normal top five is us talking about our favorite things, whether it's favorite sports games, whether it's favorite movies, favorite shows, whatnot, yada yada. Today, we're going to talk about the top five debates that Zino and I have agreed are probably the most important top five debates that are upcoming. Obviously, the reason we're talking about that is because we just recently had the debate between the first of planned 3 debates between Trump and Joe Biden, right? So that's going to be our first part. We're going to talk about our top 5. Secondly, like I said, this week in politics has really been 3 big days. The first thing we're going to talk about is Trump's taxes being released, right? Obviously, that had some ramifications. Number 2, we're going to talk about the debate. The most interesting debate that me and Zino have ever experienced viewing in our lives. Number 3, we're going to talk about the fact is, like I said, it's one of 3 planned debates, but maybe that's changed because recently the Trump administration has been heavily hit with COVID-19, a pandemic that he stated wasn't even real, basically. So we're going to discuss that part, right? And then after that, speaking of Corona, sports. Corona has hit the sports world, specifically the football world. And also, I believe, Zino, they hit the soccer world too, didn't they? Because I think I saw you post a very...
Yeah. In the Premier League.
So we'll talk about that too. We'll talk about that too. And then we're going to do a week 3 recap. Speaking of devastating, I'm wearing my Falcons shirt just because I'm still a Falcons fan. But the mere fact of the matter is, it's been a devastating week for Falcons fans again. And so we're going to do our week 3 recap on Falcons football. Again, there seems to be some developments going on in regards to week 4 of football. So we're going to definitely discuss that. And then last but not least, we have a little special surprise for you guys in regards to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And we're going to discuss that a little bit further in detail when we get to that. But first and foremost, Zino, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. It's been quite a week. I think it's 9 days since we last recorded, and it's a lot to talk about. So
that's my fault. I just been very busy. We haven't had a chance to talk or anything like that. So I apologize for that to our fans. We haven't had a chance to record, so it's been a little bit. So this one's we're definitely gonna rush out this video because we have to get the week 3 recap for the NFL season, or week 4 recap for the NFL season out as soon as, the predictions as soon as we can. Because that's going to be tomorrow. So hopefully, sorry, Zino, I know I'm making you do a lot of work to have this episode released as soon as you can.
I get paid peanuts for this.
Hey, you get paid in love, my friend, and I love you. All right, so all right. So first and foremost, Zino, let's go straight into it, man. Let's talk about the top 5 debates that we have upcoming that we think are very important.
Okay, yeah. So as Zeus mentioned, this is a very different top 5, but it is election season and more importantly debate season. So I'm going to start off, and the order we have this in is sort of order of importance. Obviously it's a little subjective, especially based on our geography and also our political leanings. So with that out of the way, the first that we have, or I guess number 5 on the list, is Amy McGrath versus Mitch McConnell in the Kentucky Senate race. Mitch McConnell is the incumbent Republican. Amy McGrath is the Democrat. McConnell is seeking his 7th term in the Senate, and that debate is taking place on Monday, the 12th of October. Zeus, what are your thoughts on this debate?
We all know how I feel about Kentucky politics. Not a fan of Kentucky continuing to vote this obstruct individual. Just think he's politically immoral. I really do. Especially considering the fact that, RBG passing away, and then went back to 4 years ago where we were
The,
talking about,
the night of her passing.
yeah, the night of her passing. He talks about, oh, we're gonna give Trump an opportunity to elect somebody, or what is it called when they
To nominate.
nominate? Thank you. To nominate somebody. He postponed the Obama nomination back at the end of his term because he said the American people should decide based on the election. Looking at last week's episode, or I guess 9 days ago episode, me and Zino did talk about the ramifications of the Supreme Court. So definitely give that one a call because we do kind of talk about that more in detail. So as far as this one's concerned, I pray that Kentucky will put in McGrath. Honestly, I don't really know that much about McGrath. I'm sure you can educate me a little bit more on her.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really know much about Amy McGrath. But off the bat, based off of who she's going against, I can tell that she's going to be better than him.
Yeah.
At least in regards to.
So in Kentucky, right? In the Democratic primary, McGrath beat out her. She's more center left, and she beat out her more progressive opponent. I can't remember his name. African American dude, but it was a contentious race, but she barely beat him out, and now she's facing off against Kentucky. I believe she's a veteran. I can't remember what branch of the military, but I want to say she's a pilot, like an Air Force pilot.
Yeah, she was. She's a former Marine pilot.
Marine pilot. There we go. So she has that going for her. It's just Kentucky's so much in the bag for McConnell. As I mentioned, this is going to be his 7th term if he wins. So obviously,
and she beat Charles Booker.
Charles Booker, that's the thing. So obviously, McConnell has almost Godfather-like status in Kentucky. So it's going to be tough for him to lose this one. But because the polls have been within somewhat of the margin of error, it is one to watch. So that's why I have that as my number 5. All right.
So real quickly in regards to this one, right? Because you're right. Now going back, I do remember that. Remember, guys, far left Twitter. I follow it, and there was a lot of sour grapes in regards to what is it, Charles Booker? Him losing because he was a lot. He was more progressive. A lot of progressives, but we're talking about Kentucky. Kentucky is far from progressive. So even if he had won, what's the likelihood that he would have won actual against Mitch McConnell? So probably being realistic, McGrath probably needs to would have been a better nominee in regards to this. But I know that Mitch McConnell is very comfortable in his position.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think might be some of the ramifications in regards to the recent days in politics, in regards to his response to COVID-19? Because he's been part of that, because I feel like sometimes when something like this happens, and we're of course talking about Trump getting COVID-19, so we're going to talk about that later on in the episode. Do you think that some stuff like that might have a
no?
Because remember, no, not at all, not in Kentucky.
Not at all. No.
Kentucky's Kentucky.
No, well, yeah. Also because he's kind of been away from it. The only thing COVID related that could have an effect on him is not passing the Heroes Act that the House has sent up. But as far as downplaying the virus and all that stuff, I don't think. First of all, he has never really been that vocal in downplaying it. And also, I just don't think the people of Kentucky care about that aspect of Mitch McConnell. I think
they don't care. They don't care about public health.
I didn't say that, but they don't care about that aspect of Mitch McConnell. I think it's more of is he looking out for Kentuckians? Which the answer is no, because he's actually trying to take out the Affordable Care Act, which benefits more Kentuckians than it does people in wealthier states. But apparently they aren't seeing that, so
they'll never see that.
He'll probably be safe in his race.
So he's all right. So your prediction is he's very safe. All right, cool.
I wouldn't say very safe. I think he's gonna win. I think it's gonna be at least a 5-point win.
I was gonna say a lesser margin than usual.
Yeah. Oh, he usually spanks his opponents. I think it's gonna be a lesser margin. So yeah.
All right. Perfect. All right, that was our very first one. Now the next one is McSally versus Kelly. Go ahead and go over that one first.
Right. So Mark Kelly versus Martha McSally. Again, the incumbent is Martha McSally. She's the Republican. This is for the Arizona seats. John McCain's final 2 years of his term. As you probably know, John McCain passed away in 2019, was it? 2018. And there was a Senate race in Arizona that year, not for his seat, but for a different seat. And it was Kirsten Sinema versus Martha McSally. Kirsten Sinema ended up winning the race. The Republican governor, Doug Ducey, appointed Martha McSally to the empty seats vacated by the passing of John McCain. So she served out 2 years of that until there could be another election, which would be this one coming up on November 3rd, to serve out the rest of John McCain's term. So that's how she got to that seat. That's why she's the incumbent. Mark Kelly is the husband of former Arizona Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, who rose to national prominence when she got shot by a crazed gunman. She survived the shooting. She ended up leaving Congress, but she's been an advocate for sensible gun control laws and all that stuff since then. Mark Kelly himself is an astronaut, I believe. Also from the branch of the military. This one, which is an inverse of the Kentucky race I spoke about, I actually think Mark Kelly's pretty safe in this race. I think he's going to beat Martha McSally. Arizona has gone a lot more purple than people expected. So
yeah.
Yep.
And I will say about Mark Kelly, two things work for his benefit. One is, now I don't know if this was just a result of no Democrat deciding to run in the primary, but he ran uncontested in the primary. I don't know if that's just people getting behind him, but at least he doesn't have to deal with the ramifications of a nasty primary, right? Because a lot of times I think that's what happens a lot of times. Like primaries mess up some candidates.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the party kind of decided together that this is going to be our guy. And like Democratic Arizonans are like, this is our guy.
And then number two, Gabby Gifford is still she's still very popular in Arizona. People in Arizona, and I think you're right, because you know what? My wife lived in Arizona for quite a while, right? And she says Arizona is kind of like, what I've gotten from her is it's kind of weird, because it's kind of like the people are really chill there. Like a lot of times they're warm and welcoming. There's obviously some parts that are not, right? But she's like, people are warm and welcoming. People just like hanging out with each other or whatever, whether it's race or not. There's certain parts of Arizona, I guess, that are like that. Because their politics are very mixed. Remember, I don't know if we discussed this once in one of our recent episodes, but there was a law where they were trying to pass. Oh yes, we did, when we discussed talked about your Native American friend Graham, when we were talking about how Arizona tried to pass a law where a cop could come up to a Hispanic or anybody who looks like an immigrant.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So they can have very racist laws like that. And also, wasn't the sheriff from there?
Sheriff Joe Arpaio, from Arizona.
Yeah, he's from there. But then they also have people like Gabby Gifford and Mark Kelly now,
basically it's like a weird dichotomy, right? You got such polar opposites in that state, and that's why it's looking purple. One thing I forgot to note was when the debate is. That's going to be Tuesday, October 6th. Okay. So yeah, this coming Tuesday.
I will point out that Bernie Sanders won Arizona. So go ahead.
He won Arizona amongst Democrats.
Because they love him in Arizona. Go ahead. What's number three, sir?
All right, number three. Actually, despite the fact that I'm from Georgia, this is one of the ones I'm most interested in. Number three is Jamie Harrison versus Lindsey Graham in South Carolina. Lindsey Graham is the incumbent. He's the Republican.
Your favorite politician.
Right. Jamie Harrison is the Democrat. Lindsey Graham is seeking his fourth term, and that debate is tonight at 8 p.m. Oh, is it? Okay. Oh, I don't know. Actually, don't quote me on that. It's tonight. I just don't know the time. You can find it on YouTube somewhere if you don't live in South Carolina. All right. What are your
Will
thoughts
you
on
be
this?
watching it? Is what I have to ask.
Oh, I'll find it. Yeah, yeah, I'll definitely watch it. What are your thoughts on this race, on the candidates' chances, so on and so forth?
Well, Lindsey Graham recently has kind of gotten he's not as comfortable in his seat as he would have been 4 years ago. Now, honestly, you can explain to me better since you're obviously involved in in this Carolina politics. But I don't know. He's you know for the longest time I felt like he was like one of those very safe where he's at.
So
Kind of politicians.
to
But
ex-
I
to
don't know.
ex- to expand on what you're saying, um, so I said that he's seeking his fourth term. His two other re-election campaigns, right? So it wouldn't be his first term because he had to win that one, but his second and third race, he won them by over 20 points each time. Like they were completely safe races, right? South Carolina is safely Republican, or so we thought. But it seems that South Carolinians have taken Lindsey Graham's spinelessness to heart, because Lindsey Graham used to have this stature in politics of being able to reach across the aisle, but also being a staunch conservative. And he
I
had
never
that
bought
because
it.
he had the air of John McCain around him, but he was also part of that trio with him, John McCain, and Joe Biden, right? They were like the three amigos of the Senate. And as soon as John McCain, or as soon as Trump rose to prominence, and he saw how much Trump won South Carolina by, he was like, "Oh, I have to stay relevant. Let me hang on to Trump's coattails." And I think a lot of South Carolinians didn't like how he basically turned his back on McCain's legacy, how he turned his back on the friendship with Joe Biden, all that stuff.
And he flip flopped. He
Yeah,
was staunchly against Donald Trump, and now all of a sudden he's one of his biggest cheerleaders.
right, right. So I think South Carolinians, as much as people don't think people care about politics, I think they care about this. It boils down to who you are as a person, whether your principles matter or you're just about power. And I think it's catching up to Lindsey Graham in a big way, because there's no
And
reason
and
why a Democrat should be
and I'll
contentious
look
in
at the.
this.
I actually I have a graph currently up, in regards to the polling,
Mhm.
and you can see. So it's at 55%. It starts off at 55% support for Graham, and it started off. This is back in April, and it started off around in the mid 30s for Harrison, and then it slowly has starting to get closer, and now they're both at the 45 to
Yeah,
48%.
they're
So
statistically tied.
Harrison is catching up, and I honestly think I've never seen Harrison speak. You can let me know how he speaks. How is he? Is he kind of is he cool demeanor? Is he
Yeah, I've seen some Facebook ads of him, and then I actually saw him this week on the Readout, Joy Reid's MSNBC show, and yeah, he's a quiet demeanor type of guy, big bald head.
so? With that being said, if he's able to just show off his coolness in relations to Lindsey Graham's, like you said, spinelessness, or if he can get him flustered and get him to, basically contradict himself like he has done in the past, I think he would probably pull himself ahead. But
Yeah.
like you said, a lot of people don't know how. I don't know how Carolinians are in regards to politics, if they're paying attention, if they watch it. I mean, but maybe the state is paying close attention. If they're paying close attention, maybe that'll
Yeah,
pull them ahead.
yeah. I mean, look, I think at the end of the day, like policy and other stuff matters, but to some voters, just are you a decent person? That matters to them a lot too. And I
Yeah.
think they turn it away from Graham. The two things I want to mention that happened that I think are key to this race, even though it seems like not a big deal. Graham, in a panic type of move, released his taxes, and he's like, "I challenge my opponent, Jamie Harrison, to release his taxes." And Jamie
We talked
Harrison
about
released
this
his
already.
taxes. He said, "Done. Now ask your friends, the president, to do so as well." Right? Which basically is like, well, that checkmate move didn't work. And then
Yeah.
the second thing is Graham. There's this very just it's pathetic. It's a pathetic clip of Graham going on Fox News, different Fox News shows, being like, I'm begging your viewers, donate to me. They're killing me out there with the numbers. He's raising more money than I am. I beg you, please. Oh, I was like, this is pathetic. Yeah. So if we can see that Graham at the debate, I think that's going to make him look really bad.
One, we've already mentioned the whole that whole now ask Trump, but it is so hilarious that mentioning it again is awesome. Secondly, I never bought Graham being on. Look, I might have disagreed with John McCain on many things, but the one thing about John McCain is he was an old school Republican that was basically, he wasn't about the party. He was about his beliefs, right? And the beliefs that he felt that the Arizonian people, like, help benefits the Arizonian people. He honestly passed away at the time that was not necessary for him to pass away. I mean, he was up there in age, right? But him passing away is probably one of those things where he did not want to be around during this time in regards to politics, because it's just nasty, and it's just a lot of contradiction. His own daughter is honestly, his own daughter falls victim to that, because she's kind of that same way too. You know, what's good, what is that saying? What's good for the goose isn't good for the gander, kind of things, where she might say one thing, but completely is about another. That's how a lot of Republican politicians seem to be. Like, I'm about this, but I vote for this for the good of the party.
Yeah, Meghan McCain is in a very precarious situation because she wants so badly to speak out against Trump and Trumpism, because Trump attacked her father, like a lot. So she wants so badly to do that, but then she falls into this thing of, and I'm speaking specifically about The View, right? She falls into this thing where, oh, I'm the only Republican on the panel, so let me give this useless whataboutism that doesn't actually make sense to the conversation, and claim it as a what's the word I'm looking for? Claim it as a good faith argument, right? So she's in there where she's trying to balance being anti-Trump with still being a Republican. But the fact of the matter is, Trump isn't the party. Like, the party is supposed to be about conservative values, small government, free market, whatever. But it's not supposed to be about, oh, this is what Trump wants, so this is what I do. But her husband actually is a super Trumpian figure. So in order to be completely anti-Trump, she has to be anti her husband, and she's not going to fall into the Kellyanne Conway trap.
I'm going to tell you right now, if I don't give a damn about, I don't want people to think I'm anti this because that's the party I'm supposed to. If you talk crap about my dad or my mom or my wife, Ted Cruz, I don't care. I'm not backing you up because you're not a good person to me. I'm sorry. Unless you're real, I might agree with some of your stances, but when you're this outrageous of a person, I'm not going to follow you just because of the good of the party. And then, you know what, at the end of the day, she should be up at her husband's face and be like, yo, we talk crap about my father, right? Like, so right. You need to back up off on your whole being his cheerleader. But, Hey, man, that's how some people are, That's how some people in this side. So, anyways, let's not talk about Meghan McCain. To me is like how you feel about what's it called? The one Trump you don't care for?
Eric?
The son? Yeah, she's my Eric Trump. So let's go. Let's move on.
That was a hilarious Eric Trump thing that happened this week that completely got buried under all the crazy politics story. So he was on Fox and Friends, and they were talking about this person that had written into Fox and Friends. It was a pro-Trump email or letter, but she said that she's from New York, and she's gonna put her name as anonymous because it's dangerous to be a Trumpian in New York, whatever. So, but she's from the LGBTQ community, and then so Eric Trump was like, something about I appreciate it, yada yada, and then he said I'm also part of that community, right? Which they had to fix up later. They're like, no, he's not saying he's LGBTQ. But Yeah, they had to
He's like,
fix
I'm
it up like.
supportive of it. Was he trying to say I'm supportive of it or something
I
like
think
that?
so when they cleared it up, they were saying like he meant like he's from like New York or whatever. But,
Oh,
but yeah, it was so
Ah,
funny. It's vintage Eric.
he's so useless.
So yeah.
Let's move
Anyway,
on from these useless children of these
right.
politicians, man.
The adult offsprings.
Yeah.
All right.